Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope that everybody's getting their day off to a good start. I'm just finishing up workout number one. Um, that's the easy one. It can be the difficult one because you kind of just rolling out of bed, praying and meditating, then immediately hitting it. But I call it the easy one because there's nothing wrestling with it. As my day goes by, it becomes more and more difficult with everything that I am committed to fit it in. But that's my thing that I started in December after my health scare in November was that I was going to get back to my ideal, not just weight, but fitness. I was going to train as if I was training for competition to be in the best shape I can be in. I have a ways to go, but I'm committed to it. So I stopped by. I'm a little disheveled. Those of you who know me know me. I'm not big on trying to impress people with appearance. I like being comfortable, but I am a little disheveled. But I want to welcome everybody in. I have something to share with you. I'm excited about sharing it with you. I hope that it encourages you. I hope that it inspires you. I hope that you are enlightened by it. I hope that you are encouraged to take some action because without taking action, you can learn everything you want to learn. There are people who consistently learn, but never actually activate and apply what they learned and get nowhere. Here's what I can tell you with 100% certainty. If you continue to do the things that you are doing currently, you will continue to get the results that you are getting. If you're not satisfied with the results that you are getting, if you're not happy with where you are in your life, if you feel that there is more out there for you, you are going to have to make some changes. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to make a shift in the way that you are thinking, a shift in the way that you are moving, a shift in the way that you perceive things. It's that simple. It's not a process that happens overnight. It takes time, it takes commitment, it takes self discipline. I love the word committed because committed says no matter what, I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to keep doing it until I get it. If I fail the first time, I'm going to get up, I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to keep going. Failure isn't final until you quit. And so that's what we're going to say. Failure isn't final until you give up, until you quit, until you stop trying. So we keep going until we get it and we give energy to it. We fight for it because it's worth it. Um, and on that note, I want to talk to you. Before I forget, don't forget if you want a copy of the last two books, which are the first two books in a six-book series, they're book 20 and 21 in my catalog. I am grateful for having had the opportunity to share over the years what is on my heart in way of writing. I've done it obviously in video. I've done it in public speaking. And every last thing that I do where I share, it's an honor to do so. It's a privilege to do so. I get excited anytime that I'm writing something. I get excited anytime I'm speaking, whether in public, whether in video, when I'm working with my clients. They'll tell you I'm on 10. Uh, it's because I love what I do. And so just to think 21 books when they were telling me that I would never get the first one published. So there's nothing impossible. Anyway, if you want to work with me, there's a way for that to happen. Just look in there, fill out the information, and get it back to us. On that note, oh, by the way, just to be clear, if you've already taken advantage of the uh, rapid change breakthrough session, or however you refer to it, the free one, the first one, you've already taken advantage of it. It's only for people who have never sat down in a session with me. So uh, I just want to make that clear. So I don't know how that got up there. That's not what I wanted. Oh man, that's weird. That's not what I put up for the title, but I'll have to change that when I get off. That has nothing to do. That was from a post previously. I don't know how I got up there, but okay, it's there now. And let's see if I can change it. Oh, it might let me change. I don't know where that came from. Huh. All right, let me get that out of there. I'm going to put the right title because I want people to come by to know what I'm talking about. So y'all work with me here. Y'all forgive me. I know I stop in on people's lives. I like to get right to it, but I want this to be accurate. So when people stop by, they're not going like, what, what in the world? I want you to stop by and hear what I'm really talking. Okay, now go back up and put it at the top, and we'll be done, and I can get back to what I am trying to do. There we go. I don't know how that changed. I know what. And bam. All right. The actual title will Stop Duplicating Poor Performances and Refuse to Fall Victim to Your Environment. Um, I want to be succinct here. I don't want to drag this on, but I want to be very, very clear in what I'm sharing with you because this has some very powerful implications in understanding why you may be where you are. Um, Most people are where they are because somehow, some way, they allow themselves to be defined by their environment. They allow their capacities to be limited by their environment. Now, I'm going to give you an analogy and to give you some imagery on what I mean by this. But a lot of people are behaving the way their environment convinced them they had to, or that they were capable of. You can take most people from the South. I don't know. I can't ever remember being in the North and seeing a grasshopper, but I'm pretty sure I have. But growing up, we saw grasshoppers all the time. Grasshoppers are uh, a unique creature in that they have these strong hind legs. That's why they're called hoppers because they can leap uh, great heights and distances. And they also have the ability to fly. But let me tell you something. And I know this because I've done it. You can take a grasshopper and put it in an old-fashioned flour jar. If you grew up and you have any age on you, you know what I'm talking about. I've even seen some in the store these days. So you know what I'm talking about. The thing you put your flour and your sugar in, it's about this tall, it's clear, and it has a top on it. You can take that grasshopper who can probably leap about 30 inches or more, and you put it in there. So now there's about 10 to 12 inches maximum, and it's a top. And when he first gets in, he's going to jump, and he's going to keep bumping into the top. Just keep bumping into it, keep bumping into it. And what will happen is eventually you'll watch him. It's crazy. You'll watch him. And I can't tell you when or how long it takes, but I know that it happens. You watch him, and eventually he realizes that he's hitting himself up against it, and that it's not going to. So eventually he literally adjusts his jump. Now remember, he doesn't just jump, he can fly. But watch what happens. He limits his jump. His flying, attempting to fly, almost completely stops. And he starts jumping, and you'll notice you no longer, when he jumps, you no longer hear that thud when he hit from him hitting the lid. And you're looking to say, did he die? Has he stopped jumping? No, he's jumping because he jumps. That's what he does. But he's jumping only to the limitations that have been set in his environment. He has literally adjusted to his environment. But see, that's not the bad part. That was him adjusting to an environment. And what happens is you can take more grasshoppers, put them in the same jar. They're going to go through the same routine. And they're all, after a while, you'll realize you got all these grasshoppers in there and they're jumping and none of them are hitting the lid. Nobody is attempting to go any higher than the ceiling. The ceiling has literally set the limits of expectation, of performance, of what they're capable of doing. Now, keep in mind, the genetic capability to jump 30 to 40 inches is still there. It hasn't diminished. The capacity to fly has not diminished. It's just that the environment has dictated that it has no place and limited what could be done. Here's the even sadder part. Eventually, these grasshoppers, for the sake of survival, will start to procreate. And instinct will start to procreate. And they will have little grasshoppers. Now, here's crazy. The little grasshoppers would be born into these limitations. Now, genetically, they still have the capacity to jump 30, 40 inches. But they were born into an environment where they saw their parents, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their sisters, their brothers, their friends, their neighbors, only jumping so high and not attempting to fly. And they just fall in line, never even having known or experienced what their capacity was. And eventually they become identified. You can take the lid off and no one will jump out. No one will escape. No one will try to move beyond what that environment has taught them. So what am I saying? I'm saying that a lot of us were born into environments of poverty, environments of lack, environments of limited mobility, environments of subpar education. I grew up in a house with a great-grandfather who was my father, both biologically my great-grandfather and legally my father, and by all things that matter, my father. And he had a second-grade education. And that was because he was the son of a sharecropper. He was the generation removed from slavery. That's how close he was. He was born in 1909. And this thing is I want you to understand this. I'm in a house with a man who has a second-grade education and a mother who has, my great-grandmother, who had an 11th-grade education. But there was something different than other kids who were in similar situations. They created an environment of expectation. They pointed beyond what was possible. They didn't allow their limitations to become a part of the environment. They told me I was from a different era. They told me all types of reasons why what limited them and stopped them doesn't apply to me. But most of us are going to grow up in a situation where if you do just as good as, or maybe a little bit better than, you're accepted. You're seen as you're seen as successful. Let me explain something to you here. Let me explain something to you here. For some reason, it's not showing me you guys comments, so I'll have to check them after I finish. But let me show you something here. You've got this environment that you're in, and everybody in it is doing a certain thing. And what you end up with is people who barely do a little better are now seen as successful. I have a guy who I follow that I admire a lot. This guy, when it comes to stuff that he's done physically, he's a former Navy SEAL, but he came out and took his body and his being to a whole nother level. His name is David Goggins. If you haven't heard of this dude, look him up. Dude is absolutely sick as far as the stuff that he's taken on and where he started from. See, environment doesn't have to hold you. You can choose a different environment. You can choose to purge your environment. You can choose to change who's around you. But what I can tell you is this. David said something that totally blew my mind. He says we live in a world where it's so easy to be great because so many people are weak. We live in a world where so many people are behaving below average, or average, that anybody that does anything above average is automatically considered great. We have lowered the standard of greatness because as a collective, we are not performing at the levels we're capable of. What we would find if we were to start to rise and to live in the true nature of our potential, if we were to rise and start to live in the true nature of our gifting, if we were to rise and start to live in the true nature of our capacity, we would find that every last one of us has the potential for greatness, and that what we have always thought to be great was actually less than great, but just a little better than average. We live in a world where it's so easy to look at people and say, oh my God, they're so awesome, they're so great, when they're just performing a little bit better than average. But we don't see that often enough, so we think that they are great. It's time for us to redefine what great means. It's time for us to redefine what exceptional, extraordinary, and phenomenal means. It's time to stop walking around in a state of average existence. It's time to stop meandering through the maze of mediocrity. It's time for us to look at ourselves in the mirror and decide that I'm going to be something better today than I was yesterday. I'm going to strip away the restrictions of my environment. I'm going to purge my periphery and remove those things that don't speak to my potential. I'm going to remove those things that try to demand that I be restricted. I'm going to remove those things that tell me I can't. I am going to rise daily to be something better than I was yesterday. And that's not a force in this world that can stop me. We've got to get away from allowing our environment to define us. We've got to get away from allowing our environment to dictate our ability and capacity and limits and parameters. If you can conceive it in your mind, that's God's evidence that it's possible. Start living as if the impossible is possible. Start demanding more of yourself. You don't even have to know how you're going to achieve it. Just set a standard that's better than what you're doing now and then work toward it. You'll find it. You'll find that this is a beautiful thing. You'll find that providence only begins after commitment. It's after you commit to something and say, I'm going to achieve it, and you start to move toward it, that the gates of providence open up and the universe starts to provide you with things you need. God starts to deliver. Too many of you are not doing things because you can't see how. When you make up in your mind, in the words of Les Brown, Norman Vincent Peale, and a few others, when you make up in your mind that you're going to do something exceptional and extraordinary, far, far beyond anything you've ever done before, how you're going to get it done at that moment is none of your business. What your job is at that moment is making an uncompromising commitment to doing whatever it takes to get it done within the convictions of your morality and ethics, but to sit up and say, I'm not going to quit. I will not turn around. I will not relent. I will get it done. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how many times I get knocked down. I don't care how many times I experience setbacks. I don't care if I run into a bout of delay. I understand that delay does not mean denial, and I refuse to sit back and be pushed back into a state of mediocrity, into a state of average existence, into a state of survival. I have decided that as of today, I'm going to rise. I'm going to live my life at a new level. I'm going to experience a new thing. I am going to live my life in a way that I can leave this earth knowing that I died on Eve and I gave the world something that made it better than when I found it. And I can go in peace and joy knowing that I came and I played hard. I came, I saw, I conquered. I came, I set standards, I lived up to them, I raised the bar, and I climbed that bar, climbed up until I was at that bar, until there was nothing else left for me to do. And I left. If you're here and you're breathing, you're here for a reason, and you've got to start living in that reason. A lot of the emptiness that you're experiencing is because you're not living in your purpose. You're going around doing what everybody else told you you should be doing. You're going around thinking because you've got this amount of money in your car in your bank account, you got this many cars in your driveway, that you are a success. How many lives have you touched? How many people have you healed? Oh, there's a bunch of ways to heal people. If you touch somebody's life and you bring them back to a place that they once were, but they had, that's healing. You can heal somebody in their emotions. You can heal somebody in their spirit. You can heal somebody in their body. You can heal somebody in their finances. You can heal somebody in their relational expectations. You have the power to touch lives. There's something you do that brings healing in a certain way to the masses. Are you doing that? Are you doing it at the level that you have the capacity to do it? That's the question. That's what you should be asking yourself. Look, I'm not gonna stay on any longer. I'm gonna get ready to get off of here, but I had to drop this on you. I had to share this with you. Like I said, when you look at that little analogy, that little story about the grasshopper, you can do that with any animal that has a capacity. Take any animal, insect, or whatever, put them in an environment where you are restricting what they're capable of doing. And in a certain amount of time, they will adjust to the new environment. And after a while, they will not even attempt to do what you know genetically or mentally, emotionally, they are capable of doing. That is what has happened to so many of us now. We have lived in an environment of poverty, lived in an environment of mediocrity, lived in an environment of powerlessness, helplessness, and hopelessness so long that it has become the restricting force in our lives, and we refuse to step outside of it. We refuse to rise up. Uh, we haven't even challenged 5% of what we're capable of because the environment has restricted us. I'm telling you, you got to shift and change your environment. It may be moving out of your parents' house. It may be moving out of your neighborhood. It may be moving out of your city. It may be cutting off some of those friends that can't see beyond where they're at. You need to have some people that can see beyond the moment, some people who can see potential in you, people who see potential in themselves, people who are willing to strive to be a little better than they are today on tomorrow. That is how you're going to make it. You're going to make it a step-by-step process of simply being better tomorrow than I am today. That's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to advance. That's how you're going to leave a legacy that said you made an imprint on this world and the world is better because you were here. That's the legacy you leave your children and their children and their children. That's what this is about. You've got to learn to get outside of the restrictions of your initial environment to find the full capacity of who you are. That's your responsibility, no one else's. On that note, look, I'm gonna get out of here. Like I said, if you want to work with me, the information's in the description box. If you want the books, the information's in the description box. If you want to take our new class, it's a 12-month class, Mastering Money. That that information is in the description box. Grab it, go enroll. You'll hear from either the support team or me, depending on when you sign up. And we will get the ball rolling. This is a pace, self-paced. So when you start is when you start. So you're gonna have 12 courses over the no 24 courses over the course of 12 months, plus individual consultations and counseling. This is not financial advising. This is not financial management. We're not touching your money. I'm not telling you where to put your money. We're teaching you how to handle your money. We're teaching you how to leverage your money. We're teaching you how to understand money, how to think about money. And then, because see, there are going to be some times, even if you learn how to make it, that it's going to be going faster than it comes in. You got to find a way to fix that. You got to find a way to stop the hemorrhaging. You got to find a way to move some of your liquid assets into more hard assets for stability, long-term stability. But you always want to find out the best way that you're going to be able to leverage your money so that your money grows. In other words, your money is working for you, literally producing money. We're going to talk about all of that. We tend to live in the moment. So if it's not there and we can't spend it, it doesn't exist. Not true. We're going to talk about all of that. Anyway, that's enough for now. All of those are in there. Find what you need, make it work for you. Find something you need and make it work for you, but you got to take some action. On that note, I'm out of here. Like I always say, I'm going to live my life on full. I dare you to do the same. Die on E. On that note, I'm out of here.